Welcome to Amazing Indiana Music Stories.
Hi, this is Rick Wilkerson, and this is my amazing Indiana music story. My grandmother and grandfather gave all the grandkids a transistor radio around the time I was about 11, and it was very exciting for all of us because it was portable and it was ours. This is another one of those little pivotal moments in my life. So I was getting married and I was finishing up my degree, and my then wife, or about to be wife, and I got jobs in Chicago. I got a job at an advertising agency. I was thrilled. I was actually getting on a career path, right? And of course I had this enormous record collection and stuff and all of our wedding presents and stuff. And my company was going to move us to Chicago. And I thought was a pretty nice gift, right? Well, guess what? My moving van was stolen, along with all my original record collection, my baseball cards, most of the things that were precious to me, all the wedding presents, everything was stolen. And we ended up with nothing and had to start over. So this was 1984 of all years. And so I started over, and I actually thought about just going into compact discs because they were starting to come out, but I couldn't let go of vinyl. I kept finding it, so I just restarted, and it sort of became more of an obsession to like replace what I had and try to find new, and it just became a thing, in my life. And I just ended up with thousands of records. So I ended up starting a record store, because that was the thing that I really wanted to do, was start a record store, because I learned that, I wasn't really good at radio. I didn't have the gift of gab, and I didn't want to be an actor, which is how you're good at radio. And plus I was really interested in the music, none of which the radio was playing, the music I liked. So I decided record store, I'll have a record store. And so we started a record store, me and a couple of other guys, and that got me way more aware of music in general, and I started to become aware of Indiana music. I didn't know hardly anything about it. I learned a lot from customers. People would come in and say, "Hey, have you ever heard of this? Do you know about this label? Do you know about that label?" And I started becoming intrigued with what happened in Indiana, and I started realizing it was way bigger than I knew. And I keep thinking that I keep having that same revelation. It was what happened in Indiana, and is still happening, is way bigger than anybody knows. This is 2015 when we got started. We had no plan. None of us were nonprofit people. I was running a record store. Everybody else was either busy or not really that good at business. And so I kind of became the guy who got us incorporated, got our 501c3 status, started to try to figure out what we should be doing. We had no space, and we had no money, and we really didn't have a board of directors. It was just us legally as the board of directors, the volunteers. So John Raybould, who had brought in the radio stuff that you see in the museum, had worked with Flannery Buchanan, and he knew Bruce Buchanan, and they started talking about what John was up to, and John told him about what we were doing, and he said, "Well, I'm interested in that." And so we constituted an advisory board, and Bruce was on that, and Dave Fulton was on that, and Steve Ross from the Vogue. And we had a meeting, and they basically challenged us, what do we want to do? What's our goal? I hadn't been back here but a few months in 2022 when I got a call from Bruce saying, "Hey, I think you're going to have some space," because the people that had been downstairs in the Broad Ripple funeral home have moved out. And that was the real beginning, because then we could start building a museum. We could put the archive somewhere. We could start digitizing things. But that's how we got going. And once we had a space and a museum, then we started getting credibility and more of a plan. And so now we have all these programs, including this oral history series that we're doing, which has been a revelation for me, and probably for you too, in finding all the interconnectedness of how things have happened over the years. So that's why we're doing the oral history, so you can get a glimpse of why Indiana has been important. And some of the people, fortunately, there's a lot of good people still living. Certainly wish we had a time machine to go back and get some other stories, but we're getting the stories we can get and trying to get them set in stone so that they'll live long past anything we do as individuals here. That this will be part of the historic record, for decades and centuries to come. That's why we're doing this.